Welcome to the Leading Ladies podcast, where we empower women worldwide and sometimes gentlemen with thought-provoking content and interviews. I'm your host, Renee Paige, and this is my co-host, Andrea Reid. Our special guest today is leading lady Crystal Bass. Hello, Crystal.
Hey, Renee. Hey, Andrea.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
That was for you, Crystal.
Thank you.
You're used to that.
Just give you an audience.
Crystal L. Bass is a living testimony that you can do anything that you put your mind to. Crystal wears many hats. She is an actress, writer, writing coach, traveler, lifestyle influencer. In 2010, she founded the Crystal Clear Publications and published the critically acclaimed novel Dark Clouds, A Charmed City Family Struggle. In addition, Crystal turned her first book into a nationally touring stage production. In addition, she has been featured on One TV, BET, Fox 45 News, The Cooking Channel, and TLC, and that's just to name a few things. Welcome to the show, Crystal, and it's an honor to have you.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
It's an honor to be here.
Yes, it is. So, ladies, I want to apologize ahead of time just in case my internet goes out. So, in Long Beach, we have threats of rain and things like that. So, just in case my internet goes out, I do want to apologize.
And just so you know, I'm in Baltimore, and it is a major storm here. And mine might go out. But that's the nature of being live. Listen, as a playwright and going on stage and doing live shows, I'm very familiar with what can happen when you're live. So it's all good.
Yes. So you just have to keep it moving, be authentic, and it's okay.
Yep.
And I'm technical challenged anyway. Improvising, yes.
Me too.
Yeah, it's called improvising.
Yes. So this evening, we are discussing post-traumatic stress disorder, which I'm going to abbreviate PTSD. And actually, June is PTSD month. And I believe that as a community, we need to bring awareness to PTSD and make it more acceptable for those suffering to seek help, learn how to cope, and get onto the road of recovery. And it's like often when we hear the word PTSD, we think about veterans who have gone to war. But PTSD can happen to anyone, especially me. I went through it with COVID. According to Medline Plus, PTSD is a mental health problem that some people develop after they experience or see a traumatic event. Based on the U.S. population, the National Center for PTSD reports about 6% of the population will have PTSD at some point in their lives. About 12 million adults in the U.S. have PTSD during a given year. And about 8% of women develop PTSD sometimes in their life, compared with 4% of men. Crystal, can you share with us your experience with PTSD?
Sure, I can. But first of all, I'm surprised at those numbers. They seem kind of low to me. I would love to see what those numbers are going to be like once COVID is done and over. But for me, when I was a teenager, I was caught in a no-knock drug raid, just like Breonna Taylor, and the things that happened during that raid and subsequently after left me with PTSD.
Wow. Wow. Gee,
Do you care to elaborate?
Yeah, so there was a drug raid when I was 18 and pregnant, and you know, it was 30 years ago, over 30 years ago. So as I was explaining to my husband the other day, times are a bit different. You know, we have had a series of officers in Baltimore right now who are serving time for doing these raids and illegal searches and planting things on people. And back then,
Right.
over 30 years ago, our apartment, my son's dad, our apartment was raided. There were no drugs found on the premises at all. But still, as I sit here, I'm a felon for controlled dangerous substance that was never found and never in the place. So when they came in, broke everything, banged everything around, like I ended up with a black eye. It was a lot of trauma. I ended up in jail. And I did not think, or nor did my attorney at the time think, that I would end up serving any time. But I ended up with 5 years. Fortunately, and we'll get to that later, my testimony is that I wrote my way out of prison. But the short time that I was there was very, very traumatic. I quickly went on work release. I had to pay rent there and report back there every evening, where I had to get strip search, cavity search, and open my butt cheeks and squat and things like that. So that really, really, really left me with PTSD.
I can only That's a lot to digest.
Just thinking about that.
It's a lot to digest, right? It's a lot to go through.
So it was kind of like guilty
And
by
the fact
association.
Absolutely guilty by association.
I'm just taken back because everything that we went through with the last 2 years with, like you said, Breonna Taylor, just I can't breathe, just everything that we just went through.
George Floyd,
just I'm sorry, I gotta take a moment.
Well, I will say this: you certainly don't look like what you've been through. You see what I'm saying? Not like looks have anything to do with it, but just looking at you, who would think that? You see what I'm saying? But we don't know each other's stories, so very good.
thank you.
Yeah.
So let me make sure I ask this correct. And again, I'll apologize because I'm just taken back. So how did or do you manage your PTSD? Because I can imagine you're still dealing with it.
I still deal with it in lots of ways. And there are triggers that I have. But I deal with it through my writing. It's very therapeutic. I have healed through writing. I have written about it in my book. I shared a lot. I talk about it. I'm an open book. Like, I'm not going to hide any facet of my life, because at any given day, platforms like this, when I'm on various TV shows, when I'm walking down the street, at any given moment, somebody can say, I was locked up with her. So I want to tell my story on my terms, my own way. I don't want to hold things secret, keep them secret. And that helps me to heal. And I also, of course, I go to therapy. So I travel a lot, and that helps me to cope and to heal.
I could just imagine.
That is, I'm sorry. I don't
Go
want
ahead,
us to both. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just, as you were talking, you mentioned how writing was so therapeutic. And I'm not trying to make this about me, but I have clients who also say the same, who have come out of traumatic situations as well. And just hearing that, writing was a therapeutic tool for you to use to get over it. It speaks to the fact that whether you're journaling or like you said, going to see a therapist, it's just whatever methods you have to use to get over the trauma is just, awesome. Yeah. So I was happy to hear you say that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So you said you have therapy. Is that coupled with medications? Do you have to take medications also?
I've never taken medication. I feel like I can manage myself well. The PTSD also, gives me a bunch of anxiety because certain things are triggers. The Breonna Taylor thing, that was a huge trigger for me. So it causes me anxiety, right? So I have learned to manage my own anxiety. And it's just the quirkiest things that work for me, but they work for me. A hot shower, a foot massage, breathing, centering myself, and planning my next trip, okay?
Now, do you use that Calm app? Do you use the Calm app?
I don't. I don't have.
Okay. Because I know at the hospital that I work at, with patients that have anxiety, depressions, we have it so that they can use the Calm app for that as well.
Yeah. So even though I still have triggers, right? We have to keep in mind, it was 30 years ago. So I have come a long way. So I really don't use the Calm app. But there are certain things that trigger me that I don't want to do or I don't like to do. Like, my husband is always saying that he wants us going to the gun range and different stuff like that. So I've had other situations that involve guns, but he wants me to know how to be able to protect myself. And like being at the gun range with all that pop, that's like such a trigger for me. It's just something I really can't do that or get past it. Like as much as I try, and I've even had a girlfriend that had her birthday party at a gun range, and I try, but it's just so different for me.
Okay, so is he going to stop?
That's one of your triggers.
Stop. I'm sorry, we're talking over each other. I apologize. I was going to ask if, with you having these types of emotions, that it's a trigger and everything, has he stopped trying to get you to go to the gun range? Or he's still trying to get you to continue to go?
Not really, because so we live in a very remote area where I really do need to know how to protect myself if anything should happen. And I should know how to protect myself. So it's going to be something that I'm going to have to get past, because if somebody come up in here, I'm going to need to know how to bust them.
That's true.
Oh God! Yeah, but you have that long driveway, and if you do, I mean, you got a backyard that you can.
I don't know. It's so wide open. They can, you know what I mean? They can see.
Well, she probably could actually have one on her property, because she has like a huge lot of land. So she has a big property, gorgeous estate. It's an estate. where the deers come in the morning and look up at her and things like that when she's having her
Yeah, really.
That's pretty cool.
Now, so besides Will trying to take you to the gun range, has it impacted you as a mother and or as a wife?
Oh, okay. So as a wife, not so much, because like I said, some time had passed. But being a young mother, absolutely. Like, my son still is resentful at times to this day because I sheltered him so much. I was afraid of everything. I was afraid to let people keep him. I was afraid to let him do sleepovers. I was afraid to let him go out. Just so many fears that this trauma did to me, that like I was fearful to live. And plus I was inside of a depression when it first happened, because I feel like I had lost a lot of things. People tried to shame me a lot. It was a lot of chatter in my family about, oh, she was locked up, And then people tried to shame me. And then coming out of that experience, trying to get a job and having that dreadful question about, have you been convicted of a felony in the last 7 years?
Mm-hmm.
And having people look at you crazy and sideways, and then saying, you know, well, you need to write us a justification and tell us what happened. And just people being all in your business. And then just being like disqualified from basic things in life, like, you know, serving on a grand jury. You know, I got a notice to serve on a grand jury. And I got there and sat there and waited. And then they came and was like, is Crystal Bass here? And I'm like, yes, I was there to do my service. And they were like, okay, we have to dismiss you. You have a felony on your record. You are, you know, you're not allowed to serve on a grand jury. And I'm like, this is a whole mess. So things like that, you know, it's just kind of never ending. It's like, you know, I say I have a scarlet F for a scarlet, not a scarlet letter, you know, the A for adultery. I have the scarlet F, a felony, like written across me.
So is there like
now, that hasn't but you can vote and everything, I can imagine,
Yeah,
right?
I can.
Because years ago, I mean, maybe like 40 something years ago, if you had a felony, you couldn't vote.
I
Was
think
that how it
in
was?
certain states, I think in certain states, but certainly not here in Maryland, I'm able to vote.
Okay. Go ahead, Andrea.
Is there like an expiration date, for, like a time frame where that just subsides, or does it just, you know, follow you for the rest of your life that you are a felon?
Well, it does follow you. You can go to get an expungement.
Okay.
I wear like a badge of honor at this point. I have not looked into expungement because, you know, as Renee said in the beginning, like, I'm a testimony to you can do what you put your mind to. So, you know, I've been able to use my story for my benefit, turn my pain into gain, okay? Turn my pain into a paycheck. So it's really
That's
no
right.
reason for me to that I'm good.
Good.
With the state, what that judge tried to do, you know, to try and derail my life, like, I'm like, okay, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. I'm good.
I love it. So I know, because I had the pleasure of purchasing your book, as well as, I think I was one of the first people. And then I think I bought the first ticket to the play. Remember? So Crystal was my big sister in high school.
The truth
We
comes
went to
out.
all girls school. So she was yes, I used to look up to her. She used to come get me and everything. So she's my big sister. I ain't telling my age, Crystal. No, I'm joking.
But you older than me, so I'm your big little sister.
Oh Lord. But a mentor. So Chrissy puts the H in hustle. The H in hustle. Like when her and I have spoken in the past and things like that, pushes, it's like, no, Renee, no, you need to invest in your makeup. No, Renee, no. Those were last year edition of those red bottoms. No. So she was my mentor because she was like, no. But she is a testimony that even though she went through those pain, she turned that pain into a paycheck. Her play, she had 2 plays.
Nice.
So, and I noticed she has a course. And let me tell you, she has a course to teach you how to make $100K in one night. And if I'm inflating it, please correct me, Crystal. But I know that, right, so you have a course that teaches people that have pain that they can turn their pain into paychecks and also turn their script into a play and make $100K in a night. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Wow. Wow.
Yes. So
we need to talk.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, definitely. So I know that you and I went to high school, and I remembered, and I think I'm not sure what show, because you was on a lot of shows, that you spoke that you had trouble in high school as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So does that add to the stress? Did that add to the PTSD as well?
I don't know if my high school experience adds to my stress and PTSD. Now, I was stressed out in high school, but that was for a whole nother situation, a whole nother reason. It was for, where I was growing up, the household that I was living in with my mom, where I was growing up. I was the youngest. So all of my siblings were gone, and I was left just with my mom and the men that she bought in and out. And I strongly feel like, she oftentimes I was feeling like she put men first before me. And a lot of times it kind of left me in harm's way. And I had nobody to protect me from these said men. And so I had to protect myself. So that was stressful in itself to, not rest well at night because you didn't know if somebody was coming in your room, and then have to get up and go to school in the morning. So that was a whole different type of a stress that I had as a teenager in high school.
And that's where that was inspired the book that you've written, Dark Clouds.
That's my first book, Dark Clouds, A Charm City Family Struggle. The sequel to that, which is Whirlwind, where my life swirled into the whirlwind and I ended up in jail.
If I can just say something. I'm sorry.
Go.
No, I was just I was thinking about what you said about, your mom having, different boyfriends and what have you. And it just took me back to a friend of mine who went through a similar situation and how she felt like you, of course, because your mom is supposed to be the one to protect you. But instead, their focus is more so on having a man or keeping a man to the point where you then become, what's the word? Whether it's molestation or whatever type of abuse that these men can inflict. So when I hear that, it kind of it does sadden me because it's like, I just think when women put men ahead of their children, that how it tears the child down and how it just, can have something on their self-esteem. So what you said, when you said that, it just took me back to a friend of mine who went through that and was like really hurt because her mom did not protect her.
Yeah, I never ever felt like my mom protected me. And it's just, I had to do it myself. So because I was strong enough, even as a teenager, I was under the threat of constant molestation. But let's be crystal clear. I was never penetrated, but I was touched, which is still a form of molestation. But I was adamant on, ain't nobody penetrating this. You know what I mean? So, and the threat of that was enough stress in itself, like, not being able to sleep at night, not resting up there, which is why as soon as I graduated, I got out of there. And I was into the arms of an older man, which then led me into that raid and ended up in jail. So it was like I was in such a rush to get from under my mother's roof because of the situation I was living in.
Yeah. So that was like your first.
And I remember you saying that when.
My first what?
That was like your first traumatic experience.
No,
right?
No, my first traumatic experience was when I was 10. I will never forget. When I was 10, my grandmother died. That was my first experience with death. It was so traumatic. I can put myself there. Remember, like I was yesterday, how I screamed and hollered in that church, which is why, like, now I'm like so leery when people want to take kids to funerals because it has left a horrific mark on me. And then when I was 15, my dad died. Same thing. They had to carry me out of the church. And so now I have this rule, honey, because listen, funerals cause me so much stress. I have a rule. I don't care how well I know a person, knew a person, like, co-worker. I could have known a person for 20 years. If your phone number is not in my cell phone, I am not coming to your funeral.
Really?
So my mother used to get on me all the time because there used to be family members, like her cousins, older people and things like that. And she would say, oh, so-and-so died. And, you going with me to the funeral? I'd be like, no. I was not close enough to you. If your phone number is not in my cell phone, I was not close enough to you to put myself through that trauma. I'm not coming.
Yeah.
That's my own rule that I made up.
I remember that my grandmother taking me to Cousin Pearl's funeral. It's like, who is Cousin Pearl? Like, why do I have to go with you to a funeral? So I could imagine, and I think I went through the same thing with my grandmother. It was like every other week we were going to a funeral.
Yeah.
Of a cousin. I was like, how many cousins do you have?
Yeah.
So that was traumatic. Things like very traumatic. Very. So now, who would you say your support system was
back then? So, my sister, my mom did the best she could, but I have a cousin, my cousin Sabrina, and her mom. I was in a low security facility, so I could have like contact visits. So, I'll never forget my cousin and her mom came and bought me like a plate of spaghetti. So they were huge supports for me. But not a lot of people could support me while I was away because it was like this big secret. Yeah, it was like a big secret. And my mom really didn't want anybody to know.
Was it because for you or for her?
I'm sure it was for her. I mean, but it's like she really couldn't keep the secret because when the apartment got raided, I was pregnant. By the time I went to court and was sentenced, my baby was 3 months old. So my mom had to keep him. So, everybody's coming over like, where's Crystal? My mom got this baby all this time. So, how much a secret could she really keep?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I know I have a son that was incarcerated. And, at the beginning, I was ashamed and everything. And then it got to the point where, my son was like, Ma, no, I did something I had no business doing. So tell people your son is incarcerated. So, and then, I wrote did a short film, Gritty. So I kind of embraced it. And it was like, so I can imagine what your mom was going through because it's like you raise your kids. And then for people to know that your child is incarcerated, it feels like it's a direct reflection on you as a parent.
Yep.
So I can attest to that. So.
Okay.
I'm
sorry. Can you offer any tips?
Oh, go ahead.
For anyone who has PTSD in terms of how they should handle it?
Yeah, so everybody is different in the way that they handle it now. I do know people who self-medicate. I do know people who smoke or drink or do all those things. I do know that. I don't think that's the healthiest thing. But my advice would be to seek counseling and to find those things that help you. For myself, I know what helps me. As I said before, the writing helps me. The traveling helps me. You have to find that thing. And then for me, I am the type of person that I really can't let anything defeat me. So, I mean, I'm like, look, I really can't let this defeat me. So I have to figure out a way to live productively with this. Yeah. So I would advise anybody to seek counseling if they can't figure out on their own. Me, myself, I've come a long way. I haven't had to take medicine, fortunately, but I'm strong. I'm pretty strong. It's not a lot of people that can walk a mile in my shoes.
Yeah.
So, but Crystal, when were you able to actually start talking about it?
Probably immediately, because like I told you, I mean, talk about it is one thing. Talk about it without crying is another thing. Like,
Mm.
recently, I've been able to talk about it without like breaking down. But before, I could talk about it, yeah, but I could barely get the story out because I'm gonna be crying through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're definitely a
Yeah.
survivor, you know. So
Yes.
what would you say then? At what point in your life did you start to thrive? I know that you're a playwright and you've written books and everything like that. About what time did things shift for you?
So I would say, you know, I was 19 when I was released. By the time I was released, I was 19. I would say I really didn't start really thriving until I started pushing when I was about 25. I think
Mm-hmm.
before then, I probably was having poor me syndrome, and I probably was in a bit of a depression. And I had a small baby to raise, and you know, it took a while to kind of get through that pain that I was going through, and it was hard. I wish that when I was stressed out, I could be like back then. Like back then, I was so stressed out, I couldn't eat, and I was like down to like 100 pounds.
Wow.
I went through a long depression, like that thing. I think I was kind of angry, you know, once I was released. I was kind of bitter, kind of angry. Um, you know, I was feeling like the system had failed me. And I'm not saying that I wasn't guilty by association, but I definitely feel like the punishment didn't fit the crime.
Right.
Right.
You know, they gave me drug charges for there were no drugs in the place. And to this day, at my age, I have never touched a drug. I've never smoked weed. I've never smoked a cigarette. Nothing. I've never seen drugs outside of TV. But I do have drug charges. So I don't feel like what I did by being at the wrong place at the wrong time and dating someone who did those wrong things, I just don't feel like my punishment fit the crime. So I was very, very angry about that for a while.
Yeah.
That's actually scary because just imagine you're dating someone and you don't even know. I know that's no such thing as omission, but you could be at their house having dinner or enjoying their company, and there's a raid, and then you're being taken out for something that they're doing, and you know nothing about it. And then you have a felony charge,
Right.
or you're serving time. That is scary.
Yeah, I've seen this kind of thing happen with somebody's riding in a car with somebody and they have a gun in a car and they're taking them both. And it's just like, you know,
Right.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty much like my mom used to always. Well, you remember how strict Gail was. My mom was very strict, and it was like her thing was you always need to know who you're around. So that was her thing. You don't know what they're doing, so I need to know everyone that you're around. And I think I'm still like that now. But it's scary to think that just that omission is not even a defense.
That's right.
Guilty by
It's
association.
not a defense for the law. Yeah.
But that is, I'm telling you, it's scary. It is scary. That is scary.
Yeah.
Now, so explain why you started your, because you have your own IG live series called I Come With Baggage.
Mm-hmm.
So explain that as far as everything.
So I really started I Come With Baggage when the pandemic hit, right? And
Okay.
I am a traveler, and I was not able to travel to release, you know, the stresses and the pressures of life. And it was getting to me. And I always say, you know, like I come with baggage, literally and figuratively. Like I come with all this felony baggage, but then I come with my baggage when I travel. So I wanted to start this series to open a conversation with people who were feeling the same types of, you know, ways that I was feeling, and let us just be vulnerable and get it out and talk it through. Because a lot of people, they're like, I'm not going to therapy. And therapy was just over, over video at the time, right? So I was like, why not have people that you're comfortable with? But at the same token, we'll open it up to other people who actually did benefit from it. Now, I have stopped the I Come With Baggage series. I put it on pause. But trust me, people contact me all the time and say, when are you bringing the series back? I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. And I'm like, do you want to come on and be a guest? They're like, no, well, I don't want to be a guest, but I like to listen to all this stuff because I can relate to it. So that's the reason why I started it. Because we all come with baggage, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Matter of fact, I remember being a guest on there.
Yes.
And I had baggage, and I think I was talking about my kids' baggage.
Yep.
Yep. So, yes, I remember. Yep, I was honored to be a part of that platform. So, yes, I really enjoyed it. But I know that stemmed from everything you had been through.
Yep.
Great title. Great. Very symbolic.
Yes, I trademarked it.
Yes.
Smart.
Yeah.
But as you talk about therapy, that was another vehicle. So I do hope that you bring it back, because it is therapeutic for others as well. I think what we sometimes need to realize is that the things that we go through in life, it not only it's someone once said that it's not really for you, but it's to help someone else. So it becomes like an inspiration to others. So by you going through all of everything that you've gone through and then talking about it, while some may not be comfortable, coming on the show, but just hearing that someone else went through something similar, that's healing for them as well. So I encourage you to do it again.
Even if someone didn't go through something similar, people tell me all the time when they hear my story, they say, okay, well, I was happy to listen because it let me see that, I feel like I'm going through something, but, there's always somebody out there going through something worse. So people are like, I need to get over myself, because if you could have went through that and made it through, I need to toughen up a little bit.
Yes. Now, would you say that African Americans are less inclined to seek treatments than Caucasian because of the fear of being labeled?
Yeah. And not only being labeled, it's resources. So I have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into treatment. And right now I have a really good federal government job that does not cover all the therapy that my son and I need. And I pay out of pocket for therapy, and it's very, very, very expensive. I can remember going to our first intake session. It was $750. So it's very, very expensive. And a lot of people in the Black community, the people who need it, can't afford it. So I think it's, resources as well as stigma.
Yeah. Wow. Because I know with the pandemic, I know some people that needed therapy, every time they tried to get an appointment during the pandemic, they couldn't.
Yeah.
Could not get appointments, virtual, what is it called? Telemed. They couldn't even, now is it psychotherapy that you're getting? Because I know psychotherapy is big. Is that what that is?
Yeah. So my son is more so doing psychotherapy right now, and then we do family sessions together. And that's a whole other story. He has a series of PTSD, stress disorders, anxiety, depression. So, so really right now I'm able to manage, but I'm still in therapy as a support system for him.
Right. Wow.
And so you said you put all this.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, finish what you were saying.
I was going to say, finding a good therapist is also very difficult. Finding someone who you're going to mesh with. And the trouble that I've found over the it's been, since we've been in therapy, it's been like 20 years. Finding somebody Black that can relate, someone who's relatable, that really has been a challenge. And especially finding a man. And a lot of times, listen, it's Pride Month. I celebrate Pride Month. I believe that I was a drag queen in my former life. So it's nothing against, anybody in that lifestyle, but it's just not who I preferred for my son and not what I felt he needed. So just finding a straight African-American therapist was hell. It was so difficult.
Wow.
And then not only that, just finding a Black therapist who fit, if that makes sense. Therapy is, you have to, you just really have to mesh with them, else you're gonna get nowhere. And we have been fired from therapists. It's just like, they'll fire you, in which they should, if they feel like it's not a good fit, or this is not leading down a good path and they can't help you. They'll say, it's probably best that, you find somebody else, or don't come here. So it has taken a really long time to just find somebody good. And I know there are resources out there that some people can use because maybe they can get help or assistance. But when you make a certain amount, they're going to make you pay for it. And it's hard to find somebody good.
Oh, so you said they have fired you, but have you had to fire anyone because you no?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
People couldn't relate. Like one time, my son was court ordered a therapist, and that therapist was pretty much a Caucasian woman who was raised in a financially good family. She didn't walk our path. I mean,
right.
If you've never lived in the hood or been from the hood or lived a certain lifestyle or anything, I don't know how you can speak on it and really relate. It's just like for me, and this is my opinion only, it's for me like a person who has never had children ever. You cannot tell me how to raise my child because you ain't never had none. You have never lived that.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my take on that.
Wow.
Awesome. So I'm thinking because
what? Go ahead.
We keep over talking. No, I think I want to, because I know that you have just flourished over the years, and I kind of want to hear a little bit more about your plays and how all that came about, and just how well they've done. If you could speak a little bit about that as well.
You broke up a little bit. So what is it that you want me to talk about? Just the thing, because I heard everything else but that.
No, I was saying if you can speak, because I know that you're very accomplished and you are a survivor and you've done well through all that you've gone through. So I wanted to hear a little bit more about your plays and how all that came together and how well they've done.
So, as Renee said, I'm teaching people how to make six figures in a night. So what happened with my play is my book was doing so well, and people were telling me that the characters were really vivid and they could see them, and how well of a job that I did with these character descriptions, that they were entangled in these people's lives. So I thought, okay, I'm always thinking business and how I can make something bigger, how I can make it better. And I said, people are telling me that they see these characters really come to life, so I should do a play. So I'll never forget, I don't know how I got this random email. I got a random email for an event in Chicago, and it was called A Taste of Theater. And I can't remember. I want to say it could have been in 2011 or something like that. I got this random email. So I said, oh, I want to go to this because I saw that Shelly Garrett was going to be on a panel. Now, if you guys aren't familiar, Shelly Garrett was rest his soul, but he was the godfather of urban theater. And he made $33 million from one play, the play called Beauty Shop. So Beauty Shop, you know, as you guys know, they turned into Beauty Shop the movie, Barbershop the movie. They turned a sitcom. You know, they made a sitcom based on this play. So he toured this play all over. He had spinoffs into different shows and movies and everything. So he was the keynote speaker at this A Taste of Theater in Chicago. So I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going there. So I will never forget it. I was kind of intimidated to go because I'm just like, I don't know what this is going to be. I don't know what it is. And I needed extra eyes and extra ears. So I paid 2 people to go with me. I bought their plane tickets. I covered all expenses. They went with me. And I was like, I need you guys to like write everything down, take notes, you know, all the things. And so we went there. I ended up asking a question from the audience and they called me up on stage. So I went up there. I met Shelly. When it was over, I had taken some of my books there. So when it was over, I took my books to him. I asked him, can he sign a book? And, I told him I had 2 books. So one, I just wanted his signature, and one I wrote in it to give to him. And I told him that I was really, really interested in turning this book into a stage play, and asked him, would he mentor me? And the next week, my husband and I were driving to Atlanta, and we signed the contract for him to mentor me, to direct it for me, and all those things. So he's the one who helped me. He taught me everything he knows for a large fee.
That
for
right
the
there.
cost of a mansion. He taught me everything he knew. And my first show was in Meridian, Mississippi. So he was telling me, like, listen, you're going to need to do your first show in a small market where nobody knows you, just in case it flops, you know, it won't get out because you're going to do it in a very small town. And so, you know, he said, let's go where no one knows you. So we did hella press there. You know, we did, you know, all the radio stations. We did all the morning shows, the evening shows, and we sold out. It was Valentine's Day weekend. And, you know, he told me, you know, you've been on all these TV shows, you did all this radio, so I'm going to need you to put a baseball cap on, let it sit low, sit on the front row, and you watch the show, and you pay attention to the audience reaction on different parts. Take notes. Write down the parts they laugh. Write down the jokes they didn't laugh at. So that is what happened. That's how I got started. The crowd loved it, and I was like, I'm on to something. So that's where it was birthed.
Wow.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
It is.
How many what?
Cities did you do? How many cities did you tour?
7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Listen,
And
let me just say this. No, go on.
No, go ahead.
No.
What you
Go ahead.
No, you can finish saying what you were saying.
I don't even
You
know
may
what
forget what you were going to say.
I don't even know what I was going to say.
I'm getting old.
Well, I just want to say that story is absolutely amazing. And the whole time you were telling it, I'm just like, oh my God, your steps were definitely ordered, because how everything was orchestrated. That's a God move. I just have to say that was a God move for you to be in the audience, for him to call you up on stage, for him to say, let's do this, and to mentor you. That's awesome. That's a great story.
Yep. Thank you. And to this day, I do not know how. Now, I know after the event at A Taste of Theater, a lot of the people sent me friend requests on Facebook. The guy who runs it, I still see his posts to this day. He still runs it. But I'm like, how did he find me to send me an email? I had never heard of A Taste of Theater in Chicago. I never heard of it.
Wow. That's nothing God. Nothing.
You'll be amazed at who's watching you. You'll never know. Like, if you have, I mean, I know in social media, I don't know what social media was like back then. But I don't think it was like it is now, of course, but you just never know who's watching you. And sometimes all it takes is that one person to just change the trajectory of your whole circumstance, your whole life.
Yeah.
And that's what this gentleman was for you. I think that's just a great story.
Yeah. Thanks. I keep
Yes.
telling my no social media having husband that although social media is very, very time consuming for me, it's a time suck. So I don't do it as much as I should. And I've really been silent in the last few weeks because I'm working on so many projects. But I keep telling my no social media having husband that it's necessary so that we, when I am doing things, I definitely need him to be my cameraman.
It's needed.
Yes.
These moments.
Yes. Now, what's next? What's coming up next? Because I know you got some stuff brewing.
Yeah. So next, I'm working with a network for some content. One thing is a secret. Y'all gonna have to check for it on my birthday.
Oh, is that out? Oh, but my kid knows about it, right?
No, she only knows a snippet. Everybody only knows a snippet. I don't know if we're gonna tell the secret on that day or let it drop on my birthday.
Yeah, but she's like this. No, Mom, because Miss Crystal. So I was like, all right.
What's so funny? Did your daughter tell you that she saw me on TV the other day and she screenshotted and texted me like, look who is on my TV?
Oh my God. Actually, yes, she did. She sent me, I was asleep, and she sent me a screenshot like, oh my God, Mom. Yes, I still have the text message. She went off. I was like, oh my God. So my Bria loves Crystal. I never forget when Crystal had auditions for 2 plays, and my Bria will come and be like, Ma, Miss Crystal, can you please text her and get me an audition? I'm like, I'm not doing it. You need to go audition.
What? Never do this.
So I would text Chrissy, hey, it's Renee, Bria, and then you'd be like, okay, yeah, she could come now. We're auditioning. So she's like, okay, Mom, am I going to get it? Bria, you have to audition. And I noticed she wanted the main, and I think Shannon wound up getting that. Was it Shannon?
Yep.
Shannon wound up getting that part.
Yep.
So I was like, she brought it, Bria, but every time you had something, Bria, Mom, can you call Miss Crystal? Mom. Yeah. She loves Crystal. Even with me working on what I'm working on, Mom, what are you going to do with Miss Crystal? I know Miss Crystal's going to be in it. So I had to come up with a whole role for Miss Crystal.
Well, thank you. And I love her right back. And I'm excited to see her on the 9th. So we got that. We're working on a reality show. And it's a couple other little shows that's brewing that I'm excited about. And Creative Writers University is booming. So, I'm accepting new clients right now. But I'm thinking the way things are starting to go that I may have to stop consulting soon, but I'll still offer my courses and all of my ebooks. I am going to film the play because COVID really shut the play down. So I'm going to film the play and stream it. So that'll be coming up. And I'm working on a movie, The Aftermath.
I can't wait for that. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
That's going to, yes. I can't
so when
wait
is
for
your
the
birthday?
Aftermath. That's going to be...
My birthday is July 24th. I'm a Leo.
Oh my God.
Something's going to drop on your birthday, so I wanted to make sure I knew when that date was. So I'll keep a note. I'll make
you'll know. You'll know.
Okay.
When Chrissy does it, she does it big, so you'll know.
Yeah, I'm about to show everybody how you turn 50, okay? It is not about to be a game, okay?
It's not a game. So, Andrea, you will know. You will know.
Okay.
When Chrissy does it, she does it big.
That's cool.
Any other? So it is cool. Is it anything, Chrissy, that you wish that I would have asked you or Andrea would have asked you as far as in reference to PTSD?
I think you covered it all. I mean, I think the only thing we didn't talk about that I left out, and I don't,
Okay.
cheat the audience,
Okay.
but I love the fact that I said that I was pregnant when the apartment was raided. So by the time, and this is good for you to relive, Renee, and you'll know why when I say it. It's good for you to relive the moment. So,
I'm scared.
I was, the raid happened when I was 18. Okay. They let me out on my own recon at that time. And I kind of thought, the moment was over because my son's dad was, they took him there and he was in jail. And then all of a sudden, since the apartment got raided and, there was no door, no nothing, I was kind of afraid to go back there. So I went back to my mom's house. So one day, there was a knock at the door. It was a sheriff, and he was serving me the warrant. And I never forget, it was just saying I was a menace to society, a vagrant of the law, and all this kind of stuff. So I'm like, oh my God. So when my son's father called from jail, I said, I got something today. I need to come to court. There's a warrant for me, all this stuff. And he said, take it to the lawyer. So I took it to the lawyer. He said, this happens to girlfriends all the time. You don't have anything to worry about, yada, yada, yada. And so I get my court date, right? So my court date, by the time my court date came, I had delivered the baby. And the baby was 3 months old, and I was breastfeeding the baby. And so my court date morning, get all dressed up, get the baby ready, and take him to my aunt and my cousin who had bought me the spaghetti when I was in there. And, I was breastfeeding. So the baby, he wouldn't take a bottle. He would gag like he was a true breast baby, period. So I had pumped some milk in the bottles and just took the cereal. So they would mix the milk with the cereal and give it to him off a spoon because he wouldn't drink out of a bottle. And so when I get to the court, the lawyer that said, if the judge asks you anything, I need you to remain silent. Like, I don't want you to speak. So I'm like, why? I know how to speak for myself. Like, I can talk. And he says, no, not to say anything. So anyway, lo and behold, this woman sentences me to 5 years, and my baby is at the babysitter, and I'm breastfeeding. And I fainted in a courtroom. They put the smelling salts up my nose. When I woke up, I was handcuffed behind my back, milk just leaking everywhere. My mother was on her honeymoon because I didn't even tell my mother that I had a court date. Like, nobody was home when they served the warrant. So I told my boyfriend, and he said, take it to the lawyer. The lawyer said, don't worry about it. This happens all the time. So I didn't pay any attention. So my mom was on her honeymoon. They had me in a holding cell. The lawyer comes back there. Can I call anybody for you? Can I call your mom? I'm like, my mom is on her honeymoon. So he ended up paying my bail, getting me out. So he tells me, listen, don't worry about this. Don't worry about this. I'm going to get a motion to modify your sentence. You will never serve a day. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we're communicating back and forth over this 30-day period. He's telling me this motion that he filed. He's doing this. He's doing that. Okay, that's fine. I'm still carrying the secret. I ain't told nobody. So on the 29th day, he says, I got some bad news. And I'm like, oh, what? And he's like, yeah, the judge denied the motion. You're going to have to turn yourself in tomorrow. And I'm
wow.
What? My baby is breastfeeding. Like, it was nothing I could do. I can't wean the baby over one night. So lo and behold, I couldn't tell. Like, what was I going to do? It took me the whole day to tell my mother. I was like, Ma, I got to tell you something, but you're going to be mad. And she was like, okay. What you got to tell me? And I'm like, you're going to be so mad. It took me hours until my mother was like, if you don't tell me what you have to say, I'm going to whoop your ass. And when I told her tomorrow I have to turn myself in to serve 5 years, she lost it. She lost it. So needless to say, she was like, no, you're not going. You going down to North Carolina with your father's family. You're going to cut your hair and dye it. And I'm like, I'm not going on a run. This is crazy. So the next morning, I had to turn myself in. But when I talked to the attorney, I told him, listen, my baby is nursing. There's no way I can go turn myself in. I cannot do it. So he said, let me get back to you. So he went to the court and got a motion for me to bring a breast pump into the jail. So I'm almost finished with this story because it's going to break me down. So I got the next one. So the next one,
I know why.
Huh?
It broke her down already.
But let me tell the story because Andrea wants to hear it.
No, it's a reason, and I will publicly come forward, but go ahead.
So the next morning, I turned myself in with this breast pump. So they didn't know what to do with me there because typically at this particular place, when you turn yourself in, they have to shower you, wash your hair out, put you in this orange jumpsuit. So because I was engorged and coming in with this pump, they were like, well, we can't shower her. Like, what are we going to do with her? She's coming in here with all these baby bottles and things. So they like, what are we going to do with her? So they just gave me my, like the sheets and the pillow and just pushed me into the dorm. So everybody comes rushing over because I still got on makeup. My hair is nice. And, when you go in there, your hair's supposed to be wet. And you supposed to be, on the same playing field. You're not supposed to be going in there looking glam. So everybody runs over like, what's she doing? What's she? Everybody's jumping in my face. And I made the mistake of saying, like, none of your business. I was in a fight in the first 5 minutes I was fighting. Wow. So anyway, we're going to leave that story right there.
Well, and again, so... And I'm going to publicly say it. So what she meant, and I think I was one of her triggers. And like I said, I didn't realize. And I just think this is the best forum for us to talk about this. Because I know when we ask the question about your triggers, I know that I was one of your triggers because I did not know, Chrissy, the magnitude. I've heard, but I didn't know the magnitude that you went to. And I apologize. And it was something, and I don't want to give up what it was because I know that is part of the plan that you're doing. So I don't want to give that up. And when it comes out, then we can say, oh, that was what Renee and Crystal was talking about. So it was something that I was a part of, and I thought it was a good idea. And when I thought it was a good idea, it was actually a bad idea. And the idea that I wanted to do with Crystal, as part of a project that she was doing, and I did not know that it was actually a trigger for her. And later she told me, I think 6 months later, that she had a nervous breakdown. Is that correct, Chrissy?
Well, it wasn't a nervous breakdown, but I had a breakdown. I was really, 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 really upset. Like, you're really upset.
Right. And I felt bad, and I'm still hurt. And because I didn't know the magnitude of what she went through. And it's because of the success that she has. I know that, Corey, she has a felon, but, she got through and she didn't serve time. But I really did not until now really learn the magnitude of what Crystal went through. So I have to say publicly, Crystal, for that idea that I had, I have to apologize to you again. I am so sorry. I have to apologize to you. I have to apologize to Mark. I have to apologize to the whole, because I never, and I'm not, and it's no excuse. So I do apologize again.
Apology accepted. It's water under the bridge. We're done with that.
No, but I have to, because you know how I am. That if I do something, I have to be accountable for it, especially the fact that it was a trigger. You get what I'm saying? And what you had to go through. And me even suggesting something like that, it just brought those triggers up. So again, I do apologize again. Because we've been like comrades back in the day. I ain't gonna say how old you are, Well, you said you're 50, so you want to show. So I want to know what it is like.
All this, I'm happy to be turning 50. I could have been in a whole other place, a whole other position. All that I've been through, I'm just glad I don't look like what I've been through, and I'm celebrating like 50. Like, it's major to me, which is why, I know you were ready for me to come here. I'm like, girl, I'm running around doing this because I'm preparing for this. Is a moment.
Yes.
Like, this is a moment.
It is. It is. So, and I know my daughter's going to brag about it, and I'm going to hear about it. So I'm excited about it. And then also I'm excited about Bally's for next year. So that's going to be therapeutic. So I guess I got to shower you with stuff, massages and stuff when we get there.
Yes, people. So listen, there are 9 seats left on my group trip to Bali. It's going to be so fabulous. We're doing a luxury trip to Bali, May 2023.
Yes.
Nice.
So I'm excited. I think one people that signed up for the trip, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm excited about the Bali trip. I'm excited. And then you're doing something. I know you're doing a destination also too, right? With couples.
Yes. So for my birthday, actually, I'm having I rented an amazing chateau. A chateau in Texas is going to be beautiful. Like, prepare to be sick of me, okay? Because prepare to be sick of me, because I'm gonna be live at chateau next month when I get there.
So because she told me about it, and she was like,
"No, I didn't tell you about it. I invited."
No, you said, well, what are you doing? Do you have a date? Because I never have a date. So in this one, I couldn't go. So I was like, and then I had to tell my Bria. She was like, you never have a date. She's like, don't you get sick of all your friends? You never can go anywhere with your friends because you never have a date. So, so I can't go to that.
Well, that's all right. You don't need a date for Bali. We're going to be good.
No. So I don't need a date for Bali. So we was talking about a deep subject. Can we kind of digest and do some
was she done telling
fun stuff, like some rapid fun stuff? She doesn't want to go any further.
Okay.
Then what?
You said you was going to go there.
I was asking if you were done.
Oh.
No, I was just asking
when she was done. I mean,
I wasn't. I was just asking if you were done telling the story, your story. I wasn't sure if you were done.
I think she went.
No, not that I need to cut. If you have a question, feel free to ask. I just didn't want to be.
No.
I don't have no tissue close by. I didn't want to be crying.
No, I just.
It's a cheap kind, but when you take this,
I didn't know if you were done. I didn't know if there was
cheap ones, but.
If you're done, we're good. I'm good. I don't have any other questions. No.
Okay.
I probably have a handkerchief. So this is Kleenex. So no. So I know. So it brought up emotions for me. So, but if you have a question for Crystal, you can ask her. If you have a question for me, I can put myself out there and answer the question because I'm accountable.
No.
You have a question for me, Andrea, as far as.
No, no, we don't. I don't want us to all be on here crying. Next thing you know, I'll be crying right with y'all. So I'm like, we're good. We can go on a lighter note to something else. I'm okay with it.
Okay. So do you mind, Crystal, if we kind of wrap up with some fun stuff?
No, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up with some fun.
So, what? I'm not going to ask you that question, but what is your morning routine?
Well, I don't really have one, but starting tomorrow, my morning routine, like that's why I'm clock watching, because I got to get up at 4:00 and get to this boot camp, because I'm trying to, I waited to the last minute, right? And
Right.
I've been going to this spa, getting all these little treatments, and the girl's like, "Listen, you knew for a whole year you're gonna turn 50. Now you wait to the last minute and want to cram all this stuff in." So I at boot camp at 5 a.m. So I'm like ready to shut it down. I need to go to bed. But that's gonna be my morning routine starting tomorrow up until I leave for the chateau. I gotta work out in these mornings. I gotta do the best I can. And the reason why I really didn't start earlier is because I know it's not sustainable. So right now it's like crunch time. I gotta get it done like right now.
Right now. This is going to be a silly question, and you don't have to be polite. What was the last book that you read?
I'm not really good with names, but it was something self-help. I can't think of it. You'll never get me on. I'm horrible with remembering names of books, movies, all that things. If it ain't mine, I don't know.
I know that's right.
My husband can say he can recite lines from the movies. I'm not that girl, so sorry. If it ain't Dark Clouds, A Charm City Family, World, but I have a whole office full of books. I have a full of books.
And don't even remember which the last one you read.
No, I'm not good at that. My memory is not like yours, Renee. You remember every little thing. I'm not that girl.
Oh, okay.
If
That's
I
some shame.
with my PTSD, girl, I can't remember those kinds of things.
Now, I think you and I, myself, because Arthur and I talked about this when he was on. Are you an Android or iPhone girl?
iPhone.
Oh, my God.
Team iPhone,
Okay.
yes.
That's why y'all look grainy. That's why y'all stuff is blurry right now.
Y'all
y'all ain't
blurry? Because it looks so clear and pretty in
It
mine,
looks
because
clear
it
to
looks
me.
blurry on my side. And maybe that's also a problem. Like, if we all had an iPhone, it probably worked better.
Oh, you on your iPhone? No, Crystal. That's why you had issues signing on.
I agree with you.
Andrea looks gray.
I look fine on the screen.
Yeah,
My
me,
end.
right?
You look a little blurred.
Whatever. Whatever. I'm not even on my Android. And Crystal, your pictures that you took on your iPhone are garbage compared to my Android.
No,
I
Garbage.
don't know about
no way.
that.
People always asking me, like, when you travel, do you take a photographer with you? I'm like, no, the iPhone pictures.
The iPhone
God.
does it.
Not with the iPhone. Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. 2 against 1. So, if whatever, I'm changing it. I think you'll like this one. If you could have coffee with a leading lady in the past, who would that be? Past.
You mean deceased?
Mm-hmm. You can say present now too. You can do. I'll keep it easy.
Like a Diane Carroll.
I'm stuck between Ava DuVernay and Oprah.
Oh, really? Great choice.
Yeah.
So that's present. Okay. Now, if you had to say somebody in the past, who would that be?
That's so hard. That's so hard. I don't know.
I think I would be Cicely Tyson.
Cicely Tyson, Diane Carroll, Maya Angelou. So many.
It's so many. I can't even pick.
Toni
like
Morrison.
I just picked. That would be one of mine.
Toni Morrison? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be one of mine.
My favorite quote from hers, and
Maya Angelou will be one of mine.
One of yours. Mm-hmm.
She's one of mine.
So Toni Morrison, she said, if you want to fly, you got to let. What did she say? You got to let the shit go that wears you down. Toni Morrison, I love it.
Very profound. That's
favorite
a very
quote.
profound statement. Yeah.
So, Andrea, I know you don't cuss, but it was a powerful statement that Toni Morrison, and it's true.
Yeah.
If you want to fly, you got to let the stuff go and wear you down. But she didn't say stuff. She said shut. So.
Listen, I'm no saint. I'm no saint. I have a
Patty over there.
No, not me. I used to curse like a sailor back in my day, in my younger days. So I don't judge people if they have a slippage or whatever. Shoot, every now and again I might have a slippage. Truth be told.
Thank you, because I have a potty mouth, honey. I love the Lord, but I cuss a little bit. I said, look, I don't do nothing else. I done been through a lot. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't shake my tail on no pole. I don't do none of that, but I'm going to cuss a little bit.
I am working on that because I don't want to be a 50-something-year-old woman. Listen, I'm going to have class. So I'm working.
I'm a classy cusser.
Oh, okay. No,
I make Bernie Mac proud, honey.
Well, I don't consider damn or hell really. So, I mean, every now and then I have a shit or so that's not classy, so, but you don't cuss like that. I've never heard you.
No, I don't.
Saying that.
I don't.
Maybe a damn or what the hell? I'm talking about Miss Chrissy over there.
No.
I've heard you say,
Oh,
what the hell?
I have a potty mouth.
No, I had one.
Oh, okay.
I don't do it. That was when I was like in my 20s and 30s, and I don't do it so much anymore.
Well, I do. I was raised on cussing. I am ashamed. Sometimes when you say those words, and especially as a writer, it just gives that more
emphasis.
Yeah. Emphasizes. Yes.
It's the emphasis. I have the friend that because I never used to cuss prior to college, and then I met a cussing like a sailor hallmate. I'm not going to say her name, but she said it to me one day. She said the sentence just doesn't sound right if it doesn't have MF. If you don't use MF in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you're trying to make a statement, but we do what we do. No judgments here.
Now, sometimes I use it wrong, and one time I was upset about it, and I said, "What the fuck?" And my daughter was like, "If you're gonna say it right, Mom. No, it's what the fuck." Bria, right? So I was like, "What the fuck?" So she was like, "It doesn't even sound right. If you're gonna say it, Mom, say it right, Mom, what the say it." And I was like, "Well, what?" She was like, "You don't even say it right." Oh my God. I was like, "Oh my God." So my Bria, right? Chrissy.
Yes.
Yeah. So she's like, "It don't even sound right. You sound green." So I'm going to wrap it up. And I know, Crystal, you're busy getting ready get ready for your boot camp. So it's 6:00 here, and it's 9:30 for you ladies?
Yep.
So, yeah. So if you're not going to bed or you're playing bingo, because that's what y'all starting to do now, right? Go to bed early and play bingo, right?
Oh, I don't do that.
I'm being facetious, but you're getting older.
Like, no.
Playing bingo. That's what you do when you get older. Play bingo and go to bed early. So I don't want to keep you ladies from your bedtime. So we're going to wrap up. Thank you, Crystal.
You're welcome.
Yes. So thank you for joining us this evening on Leading Ladies Live. We hope this conversation was as enlightening to our audience as it was to us. So please feel free to come back and join us again in the future, Chrissy. Well, I can call you Chrissy. So Crystal, tell us where the listeners can find you online.
You can find me, Crystal Elbass Everything. That's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram is where I'm most active. Creative Writers University on Instagram and Facebook. And also the Fly Travel Line. You can find the flytravelline.com and get you some fly travel gear. And you can go to the Fly Travel Line.
Well, yeah, because I'm going to buy a bathing suit for the from your Fly Travel one. I saw a red one and a white one that I want. So from
I think she disappeared.
Huh?
She disappeared. She's not on the screen anymore.
Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Please be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Leading Ladies. That's LEADING LADIES, Leading Ladies _podcast, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel at Leading Ladies of the Past, Present, and Future for a recap of this live with Crystal L. Bads. Also, check us out next week because we'll have Lazarus Gildred on here, our leading gentleman, and he's going to talk about post-traumatic stress syndrome from a gentleman's standpoint. You've seen him in Straight Out of Compton, so we're looking forward to that. So I want to thank